Hello, welcome, commissioners. Good morning, everyone. Buenos dias. Welcome, commissioners, city staff, and members of the public. I am Deborah Costa Hernandez. This is the first time I'm going to say I'm the chair of the Instructional Quality Commission. I call this meeting to order. Now I will introduce each commissioner participating in today's meeting. When I call your name, unmute your microphone and confirm your attendance, then mute your microphone again. Commissioner Cristina Andre.
Present.
Commissioner Mariana Astorga Almanza.
Present.
Commissioner Anita Friedman. She's not here. Commissioner Lindsay Gotanda.
Present.
Commissioner Cherise Guerra.
Present.
Commissioner Lily Jarvis.
Present.
Commissioner Neil McGaffey.
Present.
Commissioner David Pantai.
Present.
Commissioner Danae Popovich.
Present.
Commissioner Nikki Reina Guerra.
Present.
Commissioner Manuel Rustin.
Present.
Commissioner Pam Williamson. Commissioner Marcy Winower.
Present.
Student Commissioner Juliana Garcia.
Present.
Assemblymember James Ramos. Senator Ben Allen.
And Commissioner Young as well.
I'm sorry?
Commissioner Young.
Commissioner Young. Oh, did I skip it? Commissioner Kimberly Young.
Good morning, Present.
That's why she was looking at me. Sorry, thank you. I'm allowed two. Sorry, I just use one. Thank you. And so at this point, Student Commissioner Garcia will lead us in the salute of the flag.
Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. Place your right hand over your heart. Ready, begin. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you very much. I'd like to welcome everyone to our first in-person meeting in 2 years. It's very nice to see everyone's faces again. Public comment on today's meeting agenda items may be provided during the meeting, either in person by signing up on the sheet located at the back table, or by dialing 667-770-1247, and then following a prompt to provide a participant access code. Callers will then be added to a queue. The operator will notify callers when it is their turn to provide public comment. If possible, we recommend members of the public dialing in for public comment to continue to view the live stream of the meeting for a better understanding of the meeting's status. When it is your turn, please mute the livecast audio. When giving public comment, please state the following. 1, your commenter's name and first and last name. 2, organization affiliation, if any. And then 3, the public comment. Again, the phone number is 667-770-1247, and the access code is 590-6620. The phone number and access code will also be announced at the start of public comment for each item. This is also outlined on the April 20th, 2022 IQC agenda posted on the IQC webpage. Next on the agenda is the approval of minutes from our last meeting of January 19th, 2022. The public comment for this agenda item is now open. Please follow the instructions on the screen if you would like to give public comment on the minutes. You have the minutes of the January 19th, 2022 IQC meeting before you. If you have substantive changes, please present them now. If there are minor changes not affecting the content, please email them to Denise Figueroa, our IQC liaison. Can I have a motion to approve the minutes?
I make a motion to approve the January 19th, January 20th, 2022 IQC meeting minutes.
Thank you. The motion has been made by Commissioner Jarvis. Is there a second to the motion?
I second the motion.
Thank you. The motion has been seconded by Commissioner Gotanda. Is there any discussion on the motion? Is there any public comment on the motion?
There is no public comment.
Thank you. The public comment line for this item is now closed. I now call for a vote. All in favor? Oh, I forgot how we run a vote now.
So at this point, it's just it's the
Raising hands? Okay, thank you. All in favor of approving the minutes, raise your hand. Thanks. All opposed? Any abstentions? It's coming back. It's like riding a bike, except that last time I rode the bike was 2 years ago. So Denise, did it pass?
Sorry, the motion passes.
Thank you. Next item is 1E, my report. So the chair report. And so more than a report is just a couple comments that I'd like to make. Once again, buenos dias. Good morning to all. As I mentioned before, this is the first in-person meeting of the IQC in 2 years, and this definitely feels very special. It is so nice to see everyone in person. It is, as you can tell, a very different energy. Virtual meetings are necessary and efficient, and now that we know how to run them well or better, virtual events will continue to have a place in our work and lives, but there were some trade-offs when it came to the social connections and relationships, and I know that I'm not alone in appreciating the opportunity to be in community and be in person again. I would like to take this moment to recognize the incredible work of the CFERT staff and the CDE staff and technical support who made it possible for the IQC to conduct this business 100% virtually for the last 2 years. And that includes, if you recall, most of the work of the mathematics framework adoption process and an entire instructional materials adoption process for the arts, all done virtually. I am grateful for the knowledge, the creativity, the persistence, and more than anything, their patience it took to keep us on track. Thank you very much. We recognize that digital tools in our lives, workspace, and classrooms are here to stay. We have learned that when used purposefully and effectively, digital tools in the classroom can enhance learning experiences for all students. And that's why I'm very excited that today's agenda includes a presentation about the digital learning integration and standards guidance resource. Outside of the IQC, I serve as the statewide director for the California Reading and Literature Project, which makes very special, and I'm very excited to highlight the efforts happening in California that are focused on literacy, including state budgets that continue to emphasize literacy as a key priority for California schools and districts. As many of you know, in 2021, State Superintendent Tony Thurman convened a task force with a vision for ensuring that grade level literacy is a reality for all students in California. And there's a special attention to early literacy, as well as biliteracy or multiliteracy for dual language or multi-language students. There are recommendations and efforts going on directed at increasing access for libraries for students and families, and a call for increasing the number of literacy coaches and specialists to work with teachers and students as an example of some of the efforts going on. In addition, there's a concerted effort to build alignment and coherence among multiple state programs and initiatives that are focused on literacy. One important step towards that coherence was the development of the California State Literacy Plan, which I'm looking forward to the presentation today on the follow-up, as a follow-up to that plan. That's for me, and with that, I'd like to transition to item 1F and invite Deputy Superintendent Cotton to share her report.
Good morning, Commissioners, CDE staff, and members of the public, and welcome, welcome, welcome back to Sacramento. Today marks our first in-person gathering of the IQC, or the Instructional Quality Commission, of any public meeting conducted by the California Department of Education, actually to take place once again in the boardroom. And it gives me great pleasure to see your faces. It's wonderful to see you all. The work of the IQC did not change, even when so many aspects of the way we meet were altered by the pandemic. Looking at you all here now, I'm excited to continue supporting you as all of the IQC continues to serve California's educators and its 6.2 million students. I want to welcome the new faces in the room. When you joined the commission, you did so uncertain of how the commitment would impact your work, your home, and your personal life. You are here now. You made it. And it's a testament to your dedication. I look forward to supporting you, along with all of the veteran commissioners, in any way that I can while you're here. And now, I'll let you get to the business at hand. Thank you.
Thank you very much for your comments, Deputy Superintendent Cotton. Now, next is item 1G, the Executive Director's Report.
Thank you, Chair Cosa Hernandez. I want to begin with an acknowledgement to remember that we are guests of this land and must do our best to never forget its original inhabitants, the Native people who were the first stewards of California. For this first time in 2 years, this commission is meeting here in person together at CDE and recognize this as Nisenan land. My first update to the Commission with respect to the work of the Curriculum Frameworks and Instructional Resources Division, or lovingly referred to as CFIRD, is on the progress of the Mathematics Curriculum Framework. I'd like to acknowledge the work of the Math Subject Matter Committee on the guidance, review, and approval of the framework, and approval of the full Commission approval of the framework and acknowledgement of what they've done last May. I also want to acknowledge Commissioner Rustin, Senator Allen, and former Commissioner Chapman for their work in December through January in reviewing the draft to ensure that the framework is responsive to the requested edits of the IQC. I am pleased to announce, since our last meeting, the framework was posted for the second 60-day field review on March 14th, Pi Day, and we are just over halfway through this public comment period. CDE staff is diligently collecting and tabulating the public comment that has been coming in, preparing for State Board of Education action. These are exciting times for math education in our great state. CFIRD has also been working on implementing the requirements of the statutes of 2021 to contract with county offices of education to begin work on 4 new model curricula. The development process is a little different than what you may recall when we completed the Ethnic Studies model curriculum. You will have a presentation on this new process later in today's meeting. And as far as our statewide instructional material adoptions, the arts education and world languages adoptions processes have concluded as we've received final versions of the adopted instructional materials, which incorporate the edits and corrections that were identified by the IQC and the State Board of Education. These materials will soon be available across all learning resource display centers across the state. I want to conclude with a public acknowledgement of the many knowledgeable and dedicated CFIRD staff, many of whom are present today to support this meeting, as the work they do moves the agenda of statute, of the IQC, and the State Board of Education forward. CFIRD rocks. And back to you, Chair Cosa Hernandez.
Thank you so much, Executive Director Torres. Next item is 1H, report of the State Board of Education, and I believe is Board Member Wilbur Woods, who will give us an update. Thank you.
Okay, see, on Zoom, I just click mute and unmute. Good morning, everyone. I'm Cynthia Glover Woods, Vice President of the State Board of Education, and I have to tell you how excited I am to be able to see all of you, not just in your squares, but from the shoulders down, and quite excited that we are together once again. I started my term in July 2020, thus not knowing to press the button because we were never in person. And again, just quite excited to be in person for this IQC meeting. I am working, of course, as you know, along with the other board members with our state board president, Linda Darling-Hammond, to really help navigate the very challenging time our public schools have been in over these last couple of years. And one word that comes to me is resilience. Our educators, our students, our families are indeed resilient. And we will continue to rise as we move forward to this next phase in education. I also had opportunity to see many of you in IQC meetings during the ethnic studies model curriculum work, and I'm very excited that we were able to adopt that in 2021. I'd like to recognize the new IQC members that came on in 2021, Commissioners Garcia and Guerrera, and I will say hey there from Corona Norco Unified, right in our own backyard, and commissioners that came on in 2022, Commissioners McAfee, Reina Guerra, and Winterwer. And congratulations to all of you who at the January meeting took on roles of chair or vice chair and all of the new officers of the IQC. So moving forward, for those of you who are new commissioners to the IQC, I'd like to just give you a short little bit of background on the role of the State Board of Education. In short, the State Board of Education establishes policy for the governance of the state's transitional kindergarten through grade 12 public school system as prescribed in the Education Code for academic standards, curriculum, instructional materials, assessments, and accountability. 10 of the State Board of Education members are appointed by the governor to 4-year terms and also require a 2/3 confirmation from the Senate within 1 year of appointment. And the 11th member of the State Board of Education, which is probably our most fabulous member, is the student board member who serves a 1-year term and enjoys all the full voting rights and all the other rights and privileges of the State Board of Education membership. So just a good shout out to those who've served as student board members and our current student board member, Member Banaka. During the transition, in January 2022, we also said goodbye to 4 of our State Board of Education members who really have been pillars in the work over the last 5, 7, 10 years or more. So Vice President Eileen Strauss, Member Sun, Patricia Rucker, and Sue Burr all said their goodbyes in January, but their work will be felt forever because they have been integral in the conversations and the decisions that really developed what we know now as our assessment and accountability system, as well as the adoption of our most recent curricular frameworks. In February 2022, and at our first March meeting, we welcomed 3 new board members. We have now on the board Dr. Brenda Lewis, who is a retired administrator from Kern High School District. Member Sharon Olkin, who serves as executive director of Gateway Public Schools in San Francisco. And member Gabriela Orozco Gonzalez, who is an elementary school teacher in Montebello Unified School District. So at that March board meeting, there were several items of interest that were approved that I'd like to share that may be of interest to you as commissioners on the IQC. First and foremost, the revised initial English Language Proficiency Assessment, LPAC, and initial alternate LPAC student score reports for test results was approved. Also, a draft waiver package was sent to the U.S. Department of Education, and it contained a request of waiver of multiple requirements, and I'd like to share with you what was requested to be waived. There was a request for a waiver for the requirement to assess 95% of all eligible students in English language arts and mathematics and science for the 2021 school year. There was also a request for waiver of the requirement to assess less than 1% of eligible students with alternate assessments, that request be submitted at least 90 days before the beginning of the annual testing window for the administration of statewide assessments. And then there was also a request to waive the requirement to assess less than 1% of eligible students with an alternate assessment in English language arts, mathematics, and science for the 2021 school year. The last area that was requested on that waiver is a request to request an extension of the plan to report preliminary indicator results for the 2021 administration of the California Alternate Assessment for Science. In April, well, we are in April, aren't we? Well, this month, a memoranda came out, and so there are some information memos that you can definitely look at, some very important information related to the alternate LPAC operational field test, and also an update on the implementation of the integrated local, state, and federal accountability and continuous improvement system, more particularly a report on the DAS graduation rate and that impact on school enrollment patterns. And I will tell you, that is one to definitely pick up and read. Very interesting information and great work that was done by CDE staff. As we move forward, lastly, I'd like to share with you priorities from the State Board of Education in 2022. One of the priorities Executive Director Torres spoke to, which is the adoption of the math framework, and as he shared, it is in the second public comment period. Another one of the State Board of Education priorities is the approval of the Community Schools Planning and Implementation Grantees, and we'd like to do that by the end of May. And lastly, preparing for the restart of the California School Dashboard that will be released in December 2022. And as you know, during the past 2 years, the state legislature paused the formal accountability, but that is now restarting. So, Chair Acosta-Hernandez, thank you so much for allowing me to share a report from the State Board of Education. And again, I'm quite excited and look forward to today's meeting. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much for your comments, Board Member Grover Woods. Next item on the agenda is item 1I, the approval of the revised proposed 2022 IQC calendar. The public comment line for this item is now open. Please follow the instructions on the screen if you would like to give public comment on this item. And I believe Executive Director Torres is going to give us more information.
Thank you, Chair Acosta-Hernandez. We bring before you one change to the 2022-2023 IQC meeting dates. In planning for 2022, key strategic dates were included to support multiple activities that we anticipated for the Commission. Those activities included planning the math instructional materials adoption and the revisions to the English language arts, English language development, and physical education curriculum frameworks. As you know, the math curriculum framework was delayed, thus causing a delay in the instructional materials, math instructional materials adoption. In addition, early survey results show that respondents are not interested in a full revision of the English language arts, English language development curriculum framework. Although the governor's proposed budget includes funding to begin the math adoption later this year, after the math framework is adopted, there does not appear to be funding to begin the other curriculum frameworks this year. The July IQC meeting would have been used to begin work on these projects. Subsequently, the item is up for review to cancel the July meeting. There will still be a September and November meeting on the calendar, however, to conduct the business related to the mathematics instructional materials adoption. So at this point, I yield the floor to Chair Acosta-Hernandez.
Thank you. Is there any discussion on the proposed 2022-2023 IQC meeting dates? Or any questions? I don't see the request for discussion, so I need a motion to approve the 2022-2023 IQC meeting dates. Do I?
I move to approve the 2022 dates, meeting
So,
date.
thank you. Commissioner Popovich has moved. And also, can I hear who's second?
I second the motion.
Okay, so, sorry. Commissioner Popovich has moved, and Commissioner Margas. Astorga Almanza. Now, I used both. I'm done for today. Astorga Almanza has seconded the motion. Is there any discussion on the motion? Denise, is there any public comment?
There is no public comment.
So the public comment line for this item is now closed. I will now call for a vote. All in favor signify by raising your hand. All opposed? Any abstentions from voting?
The motion passes.
Thank you. The next item on the agenda is 1J travel training. The public comment line for this item is now open. Please follow the instructions on the screen if you would like to give public comment on this item. I now turn the meeting over to Executive Director Torres.
Thank you. Now, we usually give the travel training at our orientation in January. However, since this is our first in-person meeting in 2 years, we are doing it now as a refresher for our veteran commissioners and as an initial training for our new commissioners. This training is timely to help orient you to the paperwork that you'll need to complete after this meeting. I would like to introduce to you our amazing division travel coordinator, Gloria Dobson.
Good afternoon, commissioners. Can you hear me? Okay. So we're going to go over the paperwork that is in your folder. Please don't do anything to it until we get to each paper because there's a different instruction for each one. As they say, most commissioners do know. Can you not hear me? Press the button. It did. Okay. Can you hear me now?
We'll turn you up.
Okay. I'm very soft-spoken, except when I'm talking to my children, of course. So each piece of paper has a different direction. So I want to make sure instructions so that you know how it goes. And you will find that I will be your best friend because I will be the one making sure you get reimbursed. So you will be able to contact me by email, by phone, however, if you have any questions when we get working on it. So the first form we're going to go over is the payee data record. You're going to see that should be on the top of your stack there. It's just a single form. You're going to be using this in lieu of the IRS Form W-9. Please look at this over. Make sure all the information is correct on it. You are going to be filling in, if the information is correct, fill in your Social Security number. Please make sure you're writing this very legibly, as it will get kicked back to me if they cannot read it. If it is correct, and only if it's correct, please sign the bottom of this form. If it's not correct, please make a mark next to whatever is incorrect, and we will get it to Denise, and she will get it changed today so you can get it signed. We want to make sure these are taken care of today for you. Do you have any questions on this first form? Okay. The second form is your Consultant Services Travel Reimbursement Request Form. This form is what I keep with me, so when I receive your receipts and all that wonderful stuff, I will be able to fill this out and I will be able to send this in. Make sure the information is correct on it, and the only thing you are doing on this one is you are going to sign it. Do not date this form. After each meeting, I fill in the date. I make sure it goes the way it's supposed to work through. Also, I apologize, I didn't mention that you can date the payee data record. So go ahead and date the first one, not this one. Leave all of them, and I believe there are 5 of these for you, for just in case there are other meetings or whatever, or there seems to be some issue, or you have something else you're required to do, that those paperwork will come in if you are covering things for the IQC. And if there is something wrong with that form, do the same thing, mark it, and we will get that to Denise, and she will get it taken care of. Please make sure that the name on there is your name that is your legal name, not your nickname or whatever, because it will get kicked back, especially the payee data record. Anything needs to be your legal name. Are there any questions on the second one?
Gloria, I'm sorry. Did you say sign the second one, not the first one, right?
Sign it if it's the first one, if it's okay. If it's not okay, don't sign the payee data record. If the second one is not okay, don't sign that one either. It'll be a waste of your time because she will get you the right copies. And then we can move on from that, okay? The second one, don't date. Okay? The next form.
Sorry, I have just the extras we just keep handy in case we need them.
No, you're going to give them to me so that if you have something else that you submit, I will already have the forms ready.
So would you like these signed as?
Yes. If they're correct, please sign those and we'll give those to Denise and I will keep them in my folder. The next form is the expense claim worksheet. This is what you will keep. This is what you're going to submit to me after each meeting that you do, and make sure you write in everything. I need you to make sure you have the date you leave your home, the time you leave your home, the date you get home, and the time you get home. Don't leave these like today because you don't know exactly when you're going to be home. There could be traffic on the road, your flight could be delayed. We want to make sure you're reimbursed for everything because that can also affect your meal if you get paid for a meal or if you don't get paid for a meal. So we need to make sure we have all of that. When you're doing the expense travel claim, please go ahead and try and submit with it a map quest of where you left home and where, so I can see the miles because accounting will ask for that. And if you don't, I will make sure it's there with it. Some of the things I want to go over with you for this, for you to get reimbursed, obviously your lodging. You're going to make sure that you have your receipt for your lodging. It needs to be a zero receipt. It can't show that it says paid. It needs to show zero receipt. And the hotels are usually really good about doing that. We also ask that you try and get the state rate, which I know is very difficult. I don't know how it's been since the pandemic, but for Sacramento, it's still $95. And I know that's really difficult, and we will discuss the excess lodging form also, that it needs to be taken care of so that I have that. So if it does happen to go over 95, after you've tried to get it, then we will go ahead and get that taken care of also. Talking about shuttles and taxis, please don't use a taxi unless you absolutely have to. We have to think the best interest of the state. Taxis are the most expensive. So Uber, Lyft, we have to think about those and try and watch what your costs are going to be coming from the airport. We have to be realistic. The state does not reimburse for rental cars. Please don't get a rental car. When you're parking at the airport, please park in the most economical parking spots. I know it's the farthest away, so take time, get that extra time so you can get the shuttle in, because if you park closer, I'm going to get called on it and they're going to go, why? And I'll go, unless there's a justification. If there's a justification due to medical issues, then I will need a note from a doctor usually, and I'll make copies of that so I'll have it, so I don't need one every single time. So make it a little bit easier. Make sure that you keep track of all your receipts, because if you go and park in a lot and you lose your receipt, I can only reimburse you for $10. And a lot of times they're more than that per day, so we want to make sure, I mean, it's per instance, not per day, so we want to make sure that you keep your receipts. I tell people all the time, have an envelope in your briefcase, in your purse, whatever, and grab the receipt, stick it in your envelope so you have it, and date those envelopes, make life easier for you. Any questions so far? Okay. Mileage for your car. If you decide to drive instead of flying, which is absolutely fine, the reimbursement cost is 0.585 cents per mile. So that's why I need to have the map, so you can get reimbursed if you're driving from home to the airport. If you decide to drive from your home to here, that's fine. If you decide to do that, I have to do a justification that shows what the cost of the flight would have been to the cost of you driving. Most of the time, it costs less for that. there's no guarantees anymore. So, yeah, it makes it interesting. For the meal part, it's pretty simple when you leave home. If you leave home before 6 o'clock, you get breakfast. If you're more than 50 miles, you'll have lunch. And if you're after, so then dinner, if it's after, it's been 2 years, now I'm trying to remember. I think it's after 7, you'll get dinner, and then after 24 hours, you'll get incidentals. Okay, so you don't get your incidentals the first day, you would get it the second day, okay? Anywhere on there that if you leave something blank and I'm like, you were gone long enough, I will contact you. I'm not gonna have you not get reimbursed for something. And if I question anything, I will have your contact information so I can talk to you and say, I wanna verify this just to make sure you're getting reimbursed for what you deserve to be reimbursed for and not reimbursed for something you shouldn't get reimbursed for. Okay. You do not have to submit meals receipts to me. Keep them for yourselves. Those are for your own IRS stuff. That's not for me. And please write down what you actually paid for dinner, not just because it says it's $20-something. Oh, I'm going to put down 20 and I only paid 15. That's on you, but we're asking you need to put exactly what you got paid for. You paid for your food, okay? The last form is the excess lodging form that I talked about a little bit. As I've said, 2 years ago, it was very difficult to get $95 for your hotel rooms. I know it's very hard. Do your best. I believe that you've been given a list of hotels. Yes? A list of hotels that say they will give you the state rate. If they ask for anything additional, I don't know if IDs, have they been given IDs? No. Okay. So I'm not sure. In the past we had where you could get these. They didn't actually get you in the door, but they gave you some kind of a state ID. They may request those. That's something we might be able to work on as we've done in the past. So to make sure that you can show, yes, I'm actually on state business. I'm working here as a consultant for the California Department of Education, and they should give you the state rate. If there's an issue, please contact me or Denise, and we will try and do our best. So you would fill all this. I would have this form. So this form you're just going to sign. I fill in everything else. If there's something incorrect, like I said, mark it. Don't sign it. Denise will take care of that, and we'll get it taken care of. Excess lodging will hopefully be able to take care of 90%, 95% probably % of all the things that go on in this area to make sure that you're reimbursed for your hotel. You have to be living at least more than 50 miles away to get a hotel for them to reimburse you. And one of the things about a hotel that came up a lot right before the pandemic was if that hotel gives you a hot breakfast, you cannot be reimbursed for your breakfast. If it's a continental breakfast, you can be, and that's just the pastry and whatever. But if it's a hot breakfast, and accounting will literally check if those hotels have hot breakfast. So please pay attention to that. And if it's something that you can't eat or whatever because of dietary restrictions, give me a little note, email me, and I will put that in that, and I will fight as much as I can. Does anybody have any questions? Okay, and I don't know, have they been given my information, Denise?
I believe it's at the bottom of some of the papers.
Okay.
So the list of hotels is in the orientation binder,
Okay.
which some of you have hard copies of, and then it is also online. You have the links to that.
So you have my email address. I will answer you, and the faster you get your reimbursement, your papers to me, the faster I will get it taken care of. Before the pandemic, it was taking about 6 weeks. Since this is the first one, my suggestion is the faster you get your paperwork to me and just email it to me, not email it to me, mail it to me so that I have it, and we can move on from there. If by some chance it is not like you're just sending me a hotel receipt and you don't have any like little papers for anything, you can scan them and email them to me instead of mailing them in. As long as it is not like a parking receipt that can't come across because it has to be the actual, they will take a printed from an email for me for the hotel. Okay. Yes, ma'am.
A question about airlines. So pre-pandemic, we made our own
reservations moving forward? Are we going to be doing the form and that will be done for us?
I believe that you're not doing it? You don't do it? No. Okay, yes, you do it. You do it through...
So yeah, the form that I sent, you fill out that form, and then our travel unit actually books the flight.
Right. And then that way I will get the email so that I can send it in with, the forms. So they say, okay, this person actually did fly because we got charged for it. So yes, no problem. Anyone else? All right.
Gloria, I'm sorry. Thank you. Thank you for this. It's resonating like I've heard it before, but is a little bit new still. So just to confirm what forms you need from us today, you will need today signed the payee data record, and you have the consultant services travel expense reimbursement request form signed, all returned to you.
Yes.
And we keep the excess lodging.
The excess lodging is going to go to Denise also. The only thing you're going to keep is the worksheet.
The pink one.
It's the pink one,
Okay.
Sorry.
And so do we need to sign then the excess lodging?
Need to sign the excess lodging, please do not date it.
Okay, and we sign it in, I'm sorry, I'm looking for the place. Are we Clement's signature?
Yes.
Thank you.
No problem. Anything else? Okay, well, thank you.
I have a question. For those of us with corrections, what would you like us to do with them?
Just mark what is wrong, and Denise will be getting them. I don't know if you have a break or whatever, and she will get them and get them changed for you.
Any other questions? Oh, we get, what a lovely way to, just like the Oscars. When your time is up, the orchestra starts playing. We change. Sweet. Yeah, I love to have background music. Oh, sorry. Thank you, Gloria, for the update and the training. I know I speak for myself that I will probably call you or email you with questions, the things that you just explained. But so is there any public comment?
There is no public comment.
The public comment line for this item is now closed. Next is item 1K, the state literacy plan presentation. And now the public comment line for this item is now open. Please follow the instructions on the screen if you would like to give public comment on this item. At our last meeting, the commission expressed interest in receiving a follow-up presentation of the state literacy plan. And so it is my great pleasure to introduce Erica St. Andre from the Educator Excellence and Equity Division, and she will give the presentation. And Erica, I believe that you're here with part of your team as well, right?
I am, yes. Can you hear me? Good morning, everyone. Thank you so much for the invitation to be here to present to you. And I'm joined by one of my amazing teammates here to give a presentation to you, updating you on California's comprehensive state literacy plan and the implementation of the plan. My name is Erica St. Andre. I'm an education programs consultant in the Educator Excellence and Equity Division, Professional Learning Innovations Office, and the lead consultant for the Comprehensive Literacy State Development Grant. So again, I'm here today at your invitation to update you on the implementation of the state literacy plan and the work of the 7 local literacy lead agencies. So I want to go back a little bit. I know there are new commissioners, and the plan was approved over a year ago. So just some background information for everyone. California took the opportunity to apply for federal funding to support literacy instruction for students ages birth through grade 12 with the goal of improving student achievement in reading and writing, by developing, revising, and updating a comprehensive literacy plan. And our idea was to kind of bring coherence to a variety of state-adopted documents. And the grant also provided subgrants to local education agencies to implement evidence-based programs to ensure high-quality literacy instruction. So California's first objective was to align local and state initiatives by dedicating staff within CDE to this work. So myself and several members of our team in the Professional Learning Innovations Office are doing this work at this time. Second was to design and implement an evidence-based comprehensive state literacy plan that aligns and integrates literacy initiatives, content standards, and state guidance documents to support teachers with students all the way from birth through grade 12. And then the third objective, which is where the real implementation comes in, is to build local capacity to establish, align, and implement local literacy initiatives, emphasizing family and community involvement to address the needs of California's most vulnerable children. So just as kind of a reminder and a refresher on the development process for the state literacy plan, all the way back in October and November of 2020, we presented a draft state literacy plan to you and opened public comment. In January 2021, we presented a revised draft of the state literacy plan to the State Board of Education for their feedback and input. And between January and March of 2021, we made those requested revisions. And in March 2021, we brought it back to the State Board and received their approval and initiated the publication process. So I wanted to show you. We have a hard copy. It's very exciting. So now we're kind of here today. So to kind of refresh about an overview of the plan, it begins with an executive summary, followed by an introduction that really talks about how to read the document. We go into a description of the comprehensive and integrated literacy model, which highlights the importance of best first instruction. There's a section on the continuous improvement process and the process that the CDE and its partners went through in developing the various stages of improvement, and also the plans to kind of leverage these funds for the 3 different age and grade bands. So what we landed on was that there would be a birth to age 5 grade band, transitional kindergarten to grade 5, and then grades 6 to 12. And then at the end of the plan, you'll find works cited and various appendices. So one of the things we're most proud of and that we focus on most intently is a focus on best first instruction within the multi-tiered system of support. And this is really the foundation of the state literacy plan. So universal tier 1 instruction for all students that is evidence-based, inclusive, culturally sustaining. And we include in this a list of some of the tier 1 resources to really call them out as tier 1 resources. So you'll find the content standards, the early learning foundations, all the curriculum frameworks, instructional resources, and assessments. And in addition to those, you'll also find things like the dyslexia guidelines and the practitioner's guide for educating English learners with disabilities, all of which are considered tier 1 instructional resources. And then we move into the comprehensive and integrated literacy model. We spent a lot of time on this in the development process. And again, you will find that the multi-tiered system of support and best first instruction is at the heart of this image, and that is very intentional. And then around kind of what we fondly refer to as the turtle are the various pieces that support best first instruction. So celebration and of diversity and an asset-based approach, the whole child, well-prepared and supported teachers and leaders, and family and community engagement. And you'll notice that off of each of those are foundational documents that support that work. So the state literacy plan was developed using the continuous improvement process, and this is really where the implementation of the state literacy plan comes into play as well. So we went through the process of setting direction and purpose, and as I'll describe in a few minutes, this is also something that each of the 7 literacy lead agencies engaged in. Step 2, assessing local needs and determining causal factors of greatest needs. CDE went through that process with the state literacy team in identifying the areas of greatest need, and our local literacy lead agencies also engaged in that work as they were applying for these subgrants. Step 3, planning for implementation, selecting evidence-based strategies. Those are all highlighted and listed in the state literacy plan. They were required as part of the request for applications process from lead agencies. And then step 4, implementing and monitoring work. And this is kind of really the space where all the lead agencies are at this point. And then, of course, step 5, reflecting and adjusting. So as I'll continue to talk about, the lead agencies are really kind of taking the state literacy plan to their districts and their schools, writing their own literacy plans, using ours as a foundation, and we will continue to monitor our work on the plan as we see it kind of living through them. So a couple of updates that we've provided. In December of 2021, we provided an information memorandum to the State Board on the CLSD grant work, including the naming of the 7 literacy lead agencies, and previous memos and the one I just referenced can all be found on the CDE website, listed on the screen. And now we get into the really exciting part. So this is what fills my days, and it's so exciting to see this work actually coming to life. So California was awarded $37.5 million in CLSD grant funds in 2019 to leverage and expand existing statewide infrastructure, guidance, and expertise to bring coherency to the system of literacy supports to improve student outcomes over a period of 5 years. I was still a site principal when this application was made, and this was before COVID, and so that whole idea of 5 years has kind of shrunk over time. So approximately $35 million of that $37.5 million was available to fund eligible county offices to serve as literacy lead agencies. Each lead agency is working on one of the 7 statewide literacy priorities, which were all described in the state literacy plan. And the lead agency for each priority is listed first in its consortium on the following slides. So priority 1 is birth to age 5 projects that support early childhood education, programs that promote literacy-rich environments and experiences and support the quality of programs and their capacity to support early language and literacy skills, as well as to increase family support by increasing knowledge, skills, and confidence through family-centered curriculum and literacy activities with special attention to linguistic diversity and equity and access for all. The lead agency for priority 1 is the San Bernardino County Superintendent of Schools. I just had the good fortune of going down and seeing them in person about 2 weeks ago. And they are doing fantastic work in consortium with the Fresno County Superintendent of Schools and the Orange County Department of Education. And they are particularly well poised to be working in this space of birth to age 5 and are doing amazing work in this first year of their project. Priority 2 is transitional kindergarten through grade 5 programs that build teacher capacity for Tier 1 literacy instruction, including foundational skills, reading comprehension, and best first reading and writing instruction. And the lead agency for this priority is the Los Angeles County Office of Education. They are in consortium with Lake County and Siskiyou County. And the model for their project, which is called Getting Reading Right, is that in this first year, LACO is modeling the work of their project with a pilot district, Lancaster Unified. And Lake and Siskiyou are observing that work and are poised to begin their own implementation beginning in the fall. Priority 3 is TK to 5 programs that build school capacity for effective literacy and comprehensive English language development for English learners, including opportunities to develop biliteracy and primary language instruction whenever possible. The lead agency for Priority 3 is the San Diego County Office of Education, and they are in consortium with Imperial and Orange counties. And a highlight of the Priority 3 project is that they are really focused, as it says, on biliteracy and multiliteracy, with a particular focus on American Indian languages and programs in Southern California. The Priority 5 program is TK to 5 programs that build school capacity to support students struggling with reading, including but not limited to students with disabilities and students with dyslexia. So the lead agency for Priority 4 is the Contra Costa County Office of Education, and they are in consortium with San Diego County. So you will hear repeats of county offices that are kind of touching multiple priority areas. There's an asterisk there because the Contra Costa County office is participating in the National Evaluation Impact Study. And so the American Institutes for Research are working with the Federal Department of Education to look at the impacts of CLSD grant funds. Priority 5 is grades 6 to 12 programs that build teacher capacity across disciplines for literacy instruction, including peer-to-peer coaching models. The lead agency for Priority 5 is the Butte County Office of Education, and they are in consortium with Plumas, Shasta, and Modoc counties. And they are particularly focused on universal design for learning and working with coaching within secondary classrooms. The Priority 6 is grades 6 to 12 programs that build school capacity for effective literacy and comprehensive ELD for English learners, including opportunities to develop biliteracy and primary language instruction wherever possible. And the lead agency for Priority 6 is the Tulare County Office of Education. They are in a large consortium covering much of the Central Valley, Kings County, Fresno, Madera, Merced, and Mariposa. And Priority 6's project is called the Readership Project. It originally started with a $500,000 grant from the state to provide culturally relevant texts for students, and they have leveraged CLSD grant funds to really expand this. It is very exciting. We have seen them present at various conferences, and they have a huge amount of enthusiasm and are really spreading that throughout their consortium, and many of the other priority areas are interested in partnering with them in that work. And then finally, Priority 7 is grades 6 to 12 programs that promote and build school capacity for effective literacy instruction for students with disabilities. And the lead agency here is the Napa County Office of Education in consortium with Riverside and Siskiyou counties. So we developed this map to kind of give you a visual of how the CLSD grant funds are really impacting the entire state. And to give you an idea of how counties are grouped together and also spread apart in order to kind of bring their work to various different areas. So we're very pleased that we have coverage north to south Urban, suburban, and rural counties are all being touched by these grant funds. And one thing that we have been working on in the past several months is coherence with other grant programs. For example, the state Early Literacy Support Block Grant. We have been able to map the ELSB schools onto this map to let our lead agencies know that there are schools in their counties that were recipients of the ELSB grant that they may be able to offer support to, and vice versa, letting the ELSB school know that a lead agency is in their local area and that they can lean on them for additional support in literacy instruction. So I just want to touch on resources that have been developed around the CLSD grant. So this was a large kind of deliverable for California's grant, and we have developed an online literacy resources repository. All the resources are reviewed using a rubric by CDE staff and members of the state literacy team. High quality resources were developed by the CDE, recommended by CLSD grant partners, and curated by members of the state literacy team. And the primary goal of the online literacy resources repository is to support implementation of the state literacy plan. So moving forward, and we're kind of, it says the future, but we're kind of living the future of the resources repository at this point. Members of the state literacy team are continuing to review and suggest resources for inclusion over the life of the grant. Additional resources are continually being added and developed by us. One of my colleagues in my office does all the knowledge building videos, and they are excellent, and we are continually adding new ones. And then artifacts developed by CLSD subgrantees, so the local lead agencies, are also going to be added to the resource repository as they are developed. And that is kind of the living in the future that I was just referencing. So we just had our second quarterly convening with the lead agencies yesterday, and we're able to share with them that each of them now have their own space within the online literacy resources repository for their projects, where they will be able to upload project-specific resources as kind of a central clearinghouse for all CLSD grant work. So the online resources repository is called California Educators Together. It's an online platform that connects California's leaders and educators to content and resources and supports. It was a collaboration between CDE and Californians dedicated to the Education Foundation, and we get technical support from one learning community. So there is a link here, and this is kind of what the banner looks like. It is free to anyone. It asks you to register, but I will let you know, they don't spam you, they don't do anything. It's just registering to kind of get access, and then you're able to go in and view all the different resources. And CDE is using California Educators Together for many other projects not related to CLSD as well. So you can sign up by creating a free account. And the specific group for the online resources repository is also linked here. So you would look for a Comprehensive Literacy State Development Grant Resource Repository, and you can get updates about resources as they are added. So again, thank you so much for the invitation to come and update all of you on the work of the State Literacy Plan and the 7 lead agencies. And you can stay informed about CLSD grant work by going to the CLSD webpage linked on the CDE website. There's also a sub-page that we have created with a one-pager description of each of the 7 lead agency projects. We also have a listserv that you can join, and we distribute a monthly literacy newsletter. And I'm available for any questions you may have.
Thank you, Erica. I don't have a question, but as someone who has witnessed the development of this process from concept to completion, I am in awe, yet not surprised of the amazing work that is going on. And I am not surprised because I know the quality of the team and the commitment from the team behind this, and how focused through pandemic, shifting things to virtual meetings and convenings, how focused this team was in making sure that this was done well. And congratulations.
Thank you so much. Thank you all.
Thank you. Thank you again, Erica, for a great presentation. Is there any public comment?
There is no public comment.
Okay, so the public comment line for this item is now closed. Next is item 1L, Model Curriculum Coordinating Council presentation. The public comment line for this item is now open. Please follow the instructions on the screen. If you would like to give public comment on this item, I will now turn the meeting to Executive Director Dr. Torres.
Thank you so much. As alluded to earlier in my report, we have a presentation for you today to share on the development of 4 new model curricula. We're going to transition to an information sharing presentation on the development of statewide model curricula that is in the beginning stages of work this coming spring. The model curricula covered within this presentation are from the 2021 Education Finance Omnibus Budget Trailer Bill last summer, or as it's referred to as Assembly Bill 167, AB 167. This budget trailer bill laid out a unique process for the development of these model curricula. That process is different than the process used to develop the ethnic studies model curriculum, and different from the processes that guide the development of curriculum frameworks and instructional resource material adoptions. Next slide, please. Next slide, please. Now let me introduce the Curriculum Frameworks Unit staff, who are the California Department of Education leads for the AB 167 work. Lady Kraus, who cannot be with us today, is the administrator of the Curriculum Frameworks Unit. She is overseeing the AB 167 model curriculum projects, which is uniquely complicated in that it will ultimately involve 6 different contracts and 1 grant award. Johanna Harder, our Education Programs Consultant Extraordinaire in the Curriculum Frameworks Unit, came to us from the Assessment, Development, and Administration Division in November. She is the project lead assigned to the AB 167 Model Curricula Project. She'll develop and monitor 3 of the contracts and the grant award. Kyle Petty, Education Programs Consultant, also Extraordinaire in the Curriculum Frameworks Unit, who recently led the instructional materials adoption for arts education, is assisting with this project by developing and monitoring the other 3 contracts. Now that I've introduced the staff, I'm going to turn it over to them to provide you with more information on the project. Johanna, take it away.
Thank you, Dr. Torres. As Director Torres mentioned, I am Johanna Harder, and I'm a consultant in the Curriculum Frameworks Unit. In today's presentation, we will outline what AB 167 requires for the development of these model curricula.
Might want to turn on the button.
The button is red.
Is this better? Okay. We will also share the ways we are developing the process, who is leading the creation of the model curricula, and how each will be completed. Additionally, we will specify your role, the Instructional Quality Commission, or IQC, and the ways that the IQC will support the development of each model curriculum. We are highlighting this because the IQC's role is different than the previous model curriculum project. Next. We will begin with the background of AB 167, the 2021 Education Omnibus Budget Trailer Bill, which was finalized and filed with the Secretary of State on September 23, 2021. AB 167 amended 4 specific sections of the Education Code. Those sections are 33540.2, 33540.4, 33540.6, and 51226.9. These amended California Education Code sections legislate the development of 4 model curricula. The recent model curriculum development process, the one that was used for the Ethnic Studies model curriculum, adhered to law stipulating that the IQC shall develop and the State Board shall adopt, modify, or revise a model curriculum developed and with participation from content experts, scholars, and educators. However, with AB 167 and the development of 4 separate model curricula, the CDE will contract with the County Office of Education or a consortia of county offices of education. AB 167 appropriated the funds for these contracts to lead all this important work. The 4 separate model curricula are the Vietnamese American Refugee Experience, Cambodian Genocide, Hmong History and Cultural Studies, and Native American Studies. My colleague Kyle Petty is going to talk a bit more about the model curricula, including what legislation requires for each project. Kyle?
Thank you. Good morning. As I shake the rust off of myself and the dust off of my clothes, I'm very happy to be here. As Joanna said, I'm Kyle Petty. I am a consultant in the Curriculum Frameworks Unit, and I'm monitoring 3 contracts for the Southeast Asian model curricula. And today I'm going to provide an overview of the components that will comprise each model curriculum. The legislation includes a clear definition of what comprises a model curriculum, so each contracted county office will align their work with the definition specified in the legislation. Namely, each model curriculum will include lesson plans, primary source documents, planning resources, and teaching strategies. The guidance may also include resources to support professional development as well. Additionally, each amended Education Code section includes specific topics to be included in each model curriculum, and I'm going to cover those on the next few slides. So for the Vietnamese American Refugee Experience, AB 167 outlined that a model curriculum shall incorporate writings and other media that represent Vietnamese refugee experience. This can include oral testimony by survivors, rescuers, and liberators associated with the Vietnam War, including Vietnamese American refugees, Vietnamese boat people, and members of the Republic of Vietnam Armed Forces. Specific to Cambodian genocide, the model curriculum shall include the incorporation of writings and other media that represent Cambodian genocide, including oral testimony by survivors. The Hmong History and Cultural Studies model curriculum shall address, but not necessarily be limited to, history of the Hmong people who lived in Laos, Thailand, Vietnam, and China, history of the Hmong migration to the United States and California, as well as other parts of the world, cultural beliefs, practices, and traditions of the Hmong people, including, among other things, Hmong New Year celebrations, marriages, newborns, and funerals. It will also include contributions and sacrifices of the Lao, Hmong, and other Southeast Asians who served in the secret army in Laos, which was funded by the U.S. Central Intelligence Agency. In the development of the Native American Studies model curriculum, the county offices will consult with federally recognized Native American tribes in California, California Native American tribes, faculty of Native American Studies programs at universities and colleges with Native American Studies programs, local educational agency representatives, and teachers, including those who have relevant experience or education backgrounds in the study and teaching of Native American Studies. Now, went too quickly. In addition, the governor's tribal advisor, the Native American Heritage Commission, and the CDE will assist with statewide consultations. And now, Johanna's going to discuss how educators will access and utilize the components of the curricula, as outlined by legislation.
Thank you, Kyle. As Kyle alluded to, AB 167 also specifies where the model curriculum will be housed and teachers will be able to access. Section 53 of AB 167 explicitly states that the California History Social Science Project shall develop, establish, and maintain a centrally located platform for the model curriculum. Now let me cover the lead county offices who are going to be taking on this work. In November, all county offices of education, as eligible as for the funding per AB 167, were invited to submit proposals to be considered to develop the model curricula. These proposals were submitted, the proposals that were submitted were reviewed, and three county offices were selected to serve as the lead agencies for the model curricula projects. These county offices are San Diego and Humboldt counties will evenly be splitting the Native American Studies Model Curriculum Project. Orange County Department of Education will create the 3 Southeast Asian model curricula, the Vietnamese American Refugee Experience, Cambodian Genocide, and the Hmong History and Cultural Studies. San Diego, Humboldt, and Orange County will partner with additional county offices of education from across the state to ensure widespread community and educator input as the model curriculum projects are completed. I will break down these partnerships on the next slides. To help ensure input from across the state, San Diego and Humboldt counties are evenly splitting the allotted funds to develop the model curriculum for the Native American Studies. In addition to several community organization and college partnerships, subcontracting will be done with several other county offices of education, which at this time includes Alameda, Contra Costa, Imperial, Kern, Kings, Orange, San Bernardino, Santa Barbara, Santa Clara, Santa Cruz, Solano, Ventura, and Yolo. The Orange County Department of Education will lead the Southeast Asian the Orange County Department of Education will lead the Southeast Asian model curricula development and will partner with Santa Clara County on all 3 of those. In addition, the Vietnamese American Refugee Experience model curriculum will also include a partnership with San Diego and San Bernardino counties. As noted, Orange County will partner with Santa Clara, and additionally, on the Cambodian Genocide model curriculum, there will be a partnership with Riverside County. And then on the Hmong History and Cultural Studies model curriculum, there will be partnerships with San Mateo and Butte counties. And now Kyle will share information on the model curriculum development oversight.
Thank you. So in order to ensure that each model curricula is developed in alignment with relevant content standards and the guidance in the history social science framework and is coordinated effectively, AB 167 directs the CDE to contract with West Ed, who will convene a statewide model curriculum coordinating council. And instead of making an acronym, we are going to refer to it as the council. This council will include representatives from the State Board of Education, the Instructional Quality Commission, the California Department of Education, and the California Collaborative for Educational Excellence. It will meet quarterly to discuss the development of the 4 model curricula. The duties of the council include, but may not be limited to, reviewing the development of the model curricula for sufficiency of the community input and engagement, including the inclusion of diverse and regional voices, the process for vetting and inclusion of resources into the model curricula, the accessibility of the resources on the hosting platform, and other areas of statewide concern. The CDE will be providing more information in the coming months on the development of the council. And now I will turn it back over to Director Torres. Mike.
Thanks so much, Kyle and Johanna. And thank you for all of the detailed overview of these projects and how the IQC will support the development. So at this point, we'll open up for any questions that the commissioners may have.
Thank you for that presentation. That was really, really exciting. I just had a question around what grade levels the frameworks were inclusive of.
8 to 12.
Commissioner Friedman?
Thank you. That was an excellent presentation. Thank you. It's wonderful to see this unfolding. I'm just curious, the state just funded a multi-million-dollar effort for teacher training and development of a centralized website to teach Holocaust and genocide education. And that includes maybe 15 or 20 different groups, including Cambodians, Uyghurs, Rwanda, Native Americans, Jews, Armenians, other groups who have that genocide and Holocaust experience. How is this coordinated in any way or not, or should it be, with that also state-funded effort?
That's a great question. Currently, there is no intertwining of these projects. As in legislation, there's very specific content related to each of these different model curricula to be able to develop it in that sense. As far as the connection between the two projects, definitely open to conversations on how we can make some of these connections.
I would suggest that we figure out a way to coordinate, because there is some overlap. For example, on Cambodian genocide, on Native American genocide, there is already some synergy there, which I think can be very, very helpful. And since there's a large amount of funding going in also for technology as well as this collaborative, I think it would be good for us to think about how that there could be some kind of coordination, collaboration, sharing of information. I think it would strengthen both efforts.
Thank you for that.
And I'm sure that the county offices of education, once they're established and hit the ground running, will be able to consult. And
this is Prop 98 money, and also it's already in place, this collaborative. I mean, they've already actually met, and it's well underway. So we should figure out who should be in touch with whom. And I hope you'll take the initiative to set that up. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Commissioner Pantai?
I'd like to just express my excitement for this, because I think the 4 new model curriculum will impact and be very inclusive to the state of California students. I think representation matters. I think they can be aligned with other curriculum, or they can stand alone. I want that freedom and flexibility that's given to you, that this is something that is important to the students, because I wish I had something like this growing up, that I heard about people, my own people, being discussed academically. I do want to know, what is the timeline for this?
So we're still in the contracting process. So we don't have anything fully going at this point. We have some initial things happening. So the county offices are ready and raring to go as soon as they get that go ahead. But the 3 Southeast Asian specific ones are kind of in a 1, 2, 3 kind of pattern. As soon as one happens, the next one will happen, next one within a month or so of each other. Those are to be completed by June 30 of 2024 and to be live to educators in September of that year. The Native American Studies is going to be a little bit more involved because it's a larger population of people. So that one is actually through, they're to turn it over to us in June 2025. And again, that one will be up to teachers in the September of that year, 2025.
Thank you.
Are there any other questions from commissioners?
Just a quick question. I know that you said the work of the council. I appreciate that there's not a new acronym to remember. It's called the council.
You have a lot of S, M's, and C's, and so it's not worth it.
That will be a little challenging. And I know that you're working the details, and there will be IQC representation in the council, and I'm thinking that you will come back to us later and let us know what the process would be to select that representation too.
That will be done. That work will be done through WestEd, and so we're in the middle of our contract process with WestEd as well. So that will be forthcoming late summer, early fall, winter. It'll be just in its process time. So.
Thank you.
As long as we're sharing information in an effort to ensure cooperation. You may also know that the governor established a new Governor's Council on Holocaust and Genocide Education. That council was established directly by the governor. It's out of the governor's office. It's already moving forward with representation, and is also providing funding to assess the degree to which we are teaching in the state Holocaust and genocide education. So it includes the issues that we're talking about here, but it's even broader than that. And I thought if this group is not aware of the Governor's Council, I think it's important. There was a big public event, a press conference where the governor announced it.
Okay. Thank you.
All right. Well, thank you so much, Kyle and Johanna. We appreciate the presentation. I'll pass it right back to our chair.
Thank you to both of you again. Is there any, Denise, is there any public comment?
There is not.
Thank you. So the public comment line for this item is now closed. Next is item 1M, the Digital Learning Integration and Standards Guidance Presentation. That's a long title, but it's all worth it. The public comment line item, the public comment line for this item is now open. Please follow the instructions on the screen if you would like to give public comment on this item. At the last IQC meeting, commissioners expressed an interest in learning more about the Digital Learning Integration and Standards Guidance adopted by the State Board of Education as a direct result of the COVID-19 pandemic and the need for guidance on digital learning for mathematics, English language arts, and English language development. This guidance was developed by a grant awardee, Sacramento County Office of Education. Here to showcase the amazing final product and resources related to the guidance is Dr. Nancy Hirota, Deputy Superintendent of the Sacramento County Office of Education. Welcome. Dr. Hirota, can you maybe get closer, or is the line red? No.
Is that better? Oh, it's on. Okay. I'll start over. Again, I'm Dr. Nancy Hirota. I'm the Deputy Superintendent at the Sacramento County Office of Education, and just truly appreciate this opportunity to share highlights of the California Digital Learning Integration and Standards Guidance. As was shared, Sacramento County Office of Education received a grant from the California Department of Education, and we developed this guidance document with a very extensive team on behalf of the State Board of Education. Next slide. The development of this guidance was a result of Senate Bill 98 in 2020, which called for the development of guidance around distance learning, but it also included the development of guidance around standards in ELA, mathematics, and ELD, and it also included the addition of guidance for formative and diagnostic assessment, as well as social emotional development. This was awarded to us in the midst of the pandemic. So we received the grant in September 2020 and developed a final product by April 2021 with final board adoption in May. So it was a very condensed timeline, but we had an extensive team. And I have to say that because this document was developed in the midst of this pandemic, when teachers had to shift overnight into distance learning, there was so much learning that took place over the course of the year. And as I share with you highlights of how we developed this, you'll see that we took the learning from this experience and developed a document that can be utilized moving forward that really emphasizes the importance of integrating technology in the in-class setting because of all of the learning of our educators in the distance learning environment. Next slide. This slide highlights a very extensive team that we were very fortunate to pull together to develop this guidance document. And again, as the SCOE lead agency, we contracted with numerous experts as well as nationally recognized writers to develop this guidance document. I'd like to call out ISTE, the International Society for Technology and Education, which served as the lead agency to coordinate the extensive writing team that you can see on this graphic. Not only did they coordinate the writing of this almost 700-page document, but they also developed a very user-friendly website so that educators have easy access to this resource, and I'll have an opportunity to share that website with you. Because ISTE is national, international, we knew that it was important to tap into the expertise of our California educators, and that's where CUE came in. And so they were critical partners also in the development of this guidance document. And I have to say, because we developed this document in such a short period of time, it was critical that we gather input from multiple entities from throughout the state. And I'm just really pleased to share with you that Dr. Deborah Costa Hernandez, as one of the representatives for the California Subject Matter Project, among others, were key members of an advisory group which included other educational organizations, county offices of education, as well as districts. We also put systems in place to gather input from both families and students, and we worked with Families in Schools as well as Californians for Justice to incorporate feedback from both students and families. And as you can see, when you look at the boxes that identify the writers, we were so fortunate to be able to, again, tap into key writers who have extensive knowledge. And just want to really call out that for mathematics, because the standards guidance sections of this document are aligned to the ELA and ELD framework, as well as the new draft framework for mathematics that is currently under review, it was critically important to ensure that the writers had the connection. And so the fact that we were able to tap into Dr. Joe Bowler to write the math section, supported by Kathy Ann Williams, and as you know, she has led the development of the draft math framework, so that was an important connection. And Dr. Hallie Yopp and Nancy Brynelson were the key authors for the ELA, ELD framework, so their contributions to this document has been incredibly valuable. We also had other content experts such as Dr. Douglas Clements, Nancy Fry, if you recall, they were instrumental in providing much guidance throughout the state around distance learning, so we were able to tap into their expertise, and others such as Dr. Larea, who worked with the California Department of Education focusing on social emotional learning. They just made a very comprehensive team that really led to the development of a high-quality product. If you'll go to the next slide, what I'd like to do, when I share with you the highlights of the website, what you will see is that not only did we provide digital access to this document, but we included a number of videos. So I thought it might be helpful to just start with a video by Dr. Linda Darley Hammond, who shares the highlights of the overall goals and the vision for this project. So I'm going to, how do I don't see the little arrow. Here we go. And it's just a 1-minute clip.
Writing's not that easy, but Grammarly can help. This sentence is grammatically correct.
The California Digital Learning Integration and Standards Guidance has been designed to support schools in the effective implementation of technology and the California state standards, and to provide strategies to build educator and system capacity. This video overview of the guidance offers a brief summary of the major sections.
I'm Linda Darling Hammond. I am president of the State Board of Education in California and also president of the Learning Policy Institute. So this new guidance does a couple of things. Number one, it really helps us think about how to take what we've learned about technology integration in school into an era where we'll have kids back in person and learn from what we've done and what the field knows about effective uses of technology. In addition, it also identifies the big ideas in English language arts and math around our standards that are the core standards around which the other standards dance, if you will, and helps teachers see how to teach in that integrated way, both to give teachers some framework for teaching the standards using technology around the big ideas, and also to give them a lot of resources, examples, vignettes that will bring alive the way in which teaching and learning can be really engaged in an exciting way. And so the purpose and the rationale for the standards was both to enable teachers to use technology more effectively and to benefit from the learning that had occurred.
Implementing research-based digital learning practices. Section A.
I'm Richard Collada.
Thank you. Okay, great. It is, thank you. So this slide provides a nice overview of the content of this guidance document. It is organized into 3 sections. Section A focuses on implementing research-based digital learning practices, and I'll talk briefly later about the components of this section. Section B and C, these are the sections of this document that provide standards guidance for these content areas. And the way in which these authors wrote these sections is that they organized the standards that highlight the relationship and the interconnectedness of these standards in a way that helps teachers think about standards in an integrated way. And they have developed this guidance for each of the grade levels that are identified in this document. And then in the supplemental materials, there is a literature review that guided the development of this document. There are digital tool matrix, which are recommendations from teachers and educators from throughout California, tools that they had utilized during this distance learning environment that were helpful and valuable in their teaching and learning. And there are also other resources that are included in the supplemental section in the appendices. Next slide. Another really important component of the development of this guide was to hear from educators. We wanted to make sure that we were bringing this content to life. And so the illustrative examples are infused throughout the document. Q was able to identify educators, administrators from up and down California, and it was through these interviews with educators that developed the content for this document, and the interviews, the vignettes, as well as the spotlights are infused in all 3 sections of this document. This is the website that was developed for the guidance document. And again, because it is such an extensive document, the website is very user-friendly. I don't know if we can go to that or I can just talk through that. Let me just show you really quickly, and I won't go into all the... So the website provides easy access to the full version of the PDF. Teachers, educators can access the sections that they would like to access if it's focused on math, literacy, or digital learning. There are also easy access points to the chapters by grade levels, because we know teachers want to go directly to their grade level. And then there are a number of videos that are included, and these videos were taped after the development of this guide. And again, these are videos of teachers and administrators, as well as some of the content writers, the experts. Dr. Joe Bowler, Dr. Hallie Yap are also included in these videos. We also created an ebook, which was one of the first ebooks that CDE approved, and so that access is also available on this website. So close that, I'll go back. Okay, so we'll go to the next slide. So very quickly, Section A, this is the section that focuses on implementing research-based digital learning. What I'd like to highlight here is that in the development of this section, ISTE, they conducted an extensive literature review, which was shared with the advisory before the writing began, so that we were ensuring that the content in this document was aligned to the research. The Section A is broken up into 3 chapters. The first focusing on digital learning. There's also a chapter 2, focused on the use of technology in conducting assessments to inform instruction. And the third chapter really focuses on fostering equitable access and really focuses on the social emotional learning component. Chapter 1, equitable access, addresses not only access to technology and devices, but also to connectivity, the appropriate content, ensuring that this content can be infused both in an in-classroom setting or digital learning, or whether it's synchronous or asynchronous instruction. All of that is covered in this. And then, of course, the importance of professional development is also incorporated in this chapter. Just very high-level overview that the content, again, in this section was informed by the standards, the ISTE standards, as well as the National Quality Online Teaching Standards, and those connections and the links are embedded in Section A. Chapter 2, again, this is a chapter that Dr. Fisher, Douglas Fisher, and Nancy Frey wrote. This is, again, utilizing assessments and the use of technology to assess students to inform instruction, again, whether it's in a digital learning environment or in an in-person environment. And then the focus on social emotional well-being, that is so critical, especially when we were in the midst of the pandemic, and strategies to make those personal connections and build relationships with students, whether you are working with students directly in an in-person or digital learning environment, was critically important and really well developed in the section. In this chapter, we also had experts contribute to how best to support English learners as well as students with disabilities. And so this is a very robust, comprehensive section that addresses the need to meet the needs of all learners. Section B is the section on mathematics, the guidance section for mathematics, and we organize both section A, B, and C, which focus on the content areas of standard guidance in a very similar format. So the first chapter in each section focuses on the use of digital learning, the use of technology to teach these content areas. But in each section, we present guidance and standards guidance to support how teachers can look at organizing these standards in a way that really focuses and prioritizes critical areas of instructional focus. And again, these serve as companion resources to the frameworks. This is just a quick overview of how the chapters in this guidance document is organized, and just want to call out that in chapters 6 to 9, the information around the standards guidance and the big ideas presented for the mathematics section is organized by grade level. I'll just very quickly share with you that the math section is organized around the big ideas that, again, show the interconnected nature of the standards. But to illustrate how this was developed, I'd like to turn it over to a video that Dr. Bowler presented on our website, who will share highlights of the big ideas. Let me go back once. Okay.
What's it like to learn math on Brilliant.org? Brilliant gets you hands-on to help you learn by doing. Learn topics from everyday math to calculus.
Standards guidance for mathematics.
How do the big ideas in math support student learning?
My name is Jo Bowler. I'm the Nominelli Olivier Professor of Education at Stanford University. So the big ideas that we've chosen to highlight in the new guidance are the sort of most important and central areas of mathematics. They're the big ideas that if teachers and students spend time on those in classrooms, a lot of the sort of smaller methods will be brought into those. So we didn't just group standards to make these big ideas, but we really thought about what are the most critical areas of mathematics, what mathematics is there that sort of underpins a lot of other mathematics that's really kind of foundational for kids. This big ideas approach will really bring about students being more engaged, focused on the more important mathematics, teachers understanding and seeing maths a little bit differently, seeing it as this connected subject. One of the initiatives that we've highlighted in the California Maths Framework is bringing data science into mathematics more, and not just sort of data science as a high school subject, but really helping all kids develop data literacy. We think that's really important just for living in the world these days, and being able to look at social media and know when something isn't right or when they may be being misled. That's all a kind of data literacy. And so one of the things these big ideas do is highlight that data piece all through the grades.
How does this approach change equity and student outcomes?
Okay. So what this slide highlights is that the standards guidance section for mathematics that was developed for this guidance document is now incorporated into the current draft math frameworks that is currently under review. And so there's a strong connection between this document and the standards guidance that are incorporated in the draft math framework. And I know that these are still under review, but really proud that they made the connection and incorporated this so that there is that alignment, because that really was the intention all along. Section C is the section that focuses on ELA, ELD, and I won't repeat what I shared, but again, there is a chapter that focuses on incorporating digital learning in teaching ELA, ELD, but then similar to the math section, the organization of the standards by grade level is also incorporated in this section. So this is a high-level overview of the chapters, and again, chapters 12 through 16, which really is the bulk of this section, focuses on the standards guidance for the grade levels. Just want to point out that as Nancy Brynelson and Hallie Yopp wrote the standards guidance section, because of the importance of ensuring that it was a companion resource to the math framework, they organized these sections for every grade level around the big ideas, I'm sorry, not the big ideas, but the themes in the ELA, ELD framework. So for every grade level, the standards guidance that identify the key standards and the related standards, as well as instructional guidance, are organized around meaning making. They're organized around foundational skills, language development, effective instruction, and content knowledge. So that is consistently organized in that way for every grade level. And so with that, I'm going to turn it over to Dr. Hallie Yopp, who will share how these organize. Oh, go back.
Standards Guidance for English Language Arts, Literacy, and English Language Development.
How are the California CCSS for ELA, Literacy, and ELD standards organized in the guidance?
I'm Hallie Yopp Slowick. I'm a professor emeritus at California State University, Fullerton. We organized the California CCSS for ELA and Literacy and the ELD standards according to the cross-cutting themes that we identified in the ELA, ELD framework several years ago. Those became our guideposts, if you will, on how to think about these standards as we look at the strands of ELA and literacy, which are reading, writing, listening, speaking, and language, and as we look at the parts of the ELD standards, which are interacting in meaningful ways and teaching children about how English works, as well as foundational skills. We saw some overarching themes, and those themes are these 5, and they cut across many, many of those standards. One of those themes is meaning making, that as we read, we are, the heartbeat of what we're doing when we read is that we are engaging in meaning making. A second theme is language development. Language development, too, cuts across all those strands of ELA and literacy, as well as the parts of the ELD standards. Language development matters for reading. Language development matters for writing. It matters for listening and speaking. It cuts across all aspects of learning in the language arts. A third key theme, or overarching theme, or cross-cutting theme, if you will, is effective expression. It's not just knowing language, and it's not just communicating meaning, but it's how we do it that matters. The fourth overarching theme, cross-cutting theme, is content knowledge. We know there is a very powerful relationship between content knowledge, what we know, what our background knowledge is, what knowledge we bring to bear to our reading, to our writing, and to our engaging in other communication acts with one another. The fifth overarching theme, cross-cutting theme, is foundational skills. None of those other things I said would happen well without kids being able to access print. And this is the hallmark of early years in school. So those 5 themes that I've just mentioned, meaning making, language development, effective expression, content knowledge, and foundational skills, those have become our critical areas of instructional focus.
How can technology be used to enhance literacy?
Oh, here we go. Okay. So those are the 3 sections of this guidance document. I will share with you that once the State Board of Education approved this document, we did conduct a series of 3 webinars that the California Department of Education organized, focused on each of the 3 sections. So there are opportunities to hear in-depth discussion about the organization of this document by Dr. Bowler, by Dr. Hallie Yop, Dr. Richard Collada from ISTE, and those are archived and posted on the website. We also disseminated this information through our county office structure. We have a curriculum and instruction steering committee, which includes representatives, assistant superintendents, deputy superintendents of all 58 counties, and they really are important conduits to get the information out. And I believe at that time, Dr. Cynthia Glover was the chair of CISC and gave us the opportunity to share highlights of this document to ensure that all 58 counties had access to this information. We also work very closely with the county office structure. The CISC, the Curriculum Instruction Steering Committee, also has subcommittees. So we presented this information with Dr. Bowler and Dr. Hallie Yop for the math subcommittee, the ELA, ELD subcommittee, the technology subcommittee. And there was recently an in-person statewide symposium, the CISC Leadership Symposium, where educators from both county offices and districts attended, and we were able to share highlights of this. And we just continue to do all that we can to get the word out through regional presentations at the county office level, at the district level, and know that there's more work to be done, but we are currently doing as much as we can to get this information out because it is such a valuable resource and tool for our educators. So thank you. That concludes my part of the presentation, and I'll turn it back over to is it Mike Torres or Dr. Deborah Costa Hernandez?
Thank you. Any questions for Dr. Hirota? I have to say something because I'm so proud of this document. Just to invite my fellow commissioners to consider that though the focus, the content in the guidance is language and math, it's ELA, ELD, and mathematics, there's applicability across other subject areas. Those vignettes and classroom examples are rich with examples from other disciplines, so there is an entry point for other disciplines. Thus, we're using those as kind of the entry door into the document because teachers can see, literally, really see themselves in that instruction. And also to consider the way we're framing how we are rolling out and building awareness about this document is in the context of the conversations about learning acceleration, right? And the push to do less. This counters that because it really shows us how we can focus on critical content that is integrated and rich, that we prepare instruction, adding digital tools that will enhance opportunities for learning for all, and that is a way forward in terms of accelerating learning for all students instead of remediation and doing less. So thank you. This document is going to be one of those gifts that keeps on giving. because it's an amazing document. So I invite everyone here, if you haven't taken a look at it. It's massive, but it's worth your time. Thank you. And with that, Denise, do we have any public comment?
We do not have any public comment.
Thank you so much. So the public comment line for this item is now closed. Are we good? Oh, sorry. Thank you. Next is item 1N, Commissioner Acknowledgements. And today happens to be Commissioner Garcia's last meeting as her term on the IQC will end on June 30th, 2022. And I would like to invite my fellow commissioners to say some words of acknowledgement as we say goodbye to her, and then I'll share some of mine. So do we want to start with our fellow commissioners, or please?
So, Juliana, I haven't had a lot of opportunity to spend time with you, but I continue to be inspired by just your passion and your insight. I think the reason why we're all in education is for our students, and you have been a prime example of really just being a great representative of why we are all here. I wish you the best of luck on your decision for college, and I look forward to seeing all the great things that you're going to be doing in the future. So thank you for being a part of the commission.
Yeah, I want to second that. I wish we had more time, like during in-person meetings, but you did a phenomenal job. Our first commissioner, Maya, I remember thinking, like, she's so outstanding. There's no way the next student commissioner is going to be on that same level, and you've definitely picked up the torch and ran with it. I want to wish you the best, wish you well at your on your next steps in your journey. But I also want to encourage you to continue to be part of these conversations around education and the education system. I don't know what your aspirations are as far as a career goes, but I definitely know that we need really dope educators in the system and people advocating for education. And I just hope you continue on with that as one of your passions. So I wish you the best.
I'll say something.
Please, yes.
Juliana, it's been such an affirmation and confirmation that public school education really does impact and empower young learners. You're the prime example. And as a proud product myself of public school education, a mother of a child in public school, and seeing you here, it just really affirms the work of this commission. And I just want to thank you for your time. Like the other commissioners said, it's unfortunate that we didn't have more time to spend in person to get to know you, but your contributions were powerful and strong over your time on this commission. And congratulations. And like Commissioner Gotanda said, we look forward to your work in education. Thank you.
So I want to echo what's been said. That's always easier, right? Because people are going to say a lot of great things because you deserve them all and more. And I also want to thank you for your leadership. Sometimes when we look for leadership, we look for people who are in positions of leadership and titles. And really in education, we need to look to our students for leadership. And you are the great example of that. And I appreciate your time here. Again, like my colleagues have said, too bad that we did everything online and we didn't have opportunities to socialize. But thank you for all the great work that you did. Thank you for your input, your insights. And I know this is not the end. I look forward to learning about the great things that you're going to do moving forward.
It's truly been an honor to be here, to be in front of all of you, to learn your stories, to know how you got here. I remember the first day that the new commissioners came on, you guys all told your stories and how you came into education, and it was truly eye-opening to see that I was sitting in a... Oh? in a virtual room with all of you who have been through so much and who have worked to be here and who have such amazing stories. And it's been an honor to serve the students as well. And I've done my best to be the representation that they deserve. I know they deserve so much more. The students are forever grateful to hold a position on this commission. So I thank those of you who were here to make that decision when it was made. And I'd also like to thank the last commissioner before me for teaching me so much. And I'm glad that I was able to be here for my first and last in-person meeting. So thank you, all of you.
So, Juliana, we reached out to all of the different commissioners, knowing that this is your last meeting, and we asked each commissioner for a word to describe you. Just some examples of some of these words that have come out are conscientious, compassionate, dedicated, inspirational, progressive, powerful. The list goes on, and I think we may have gotten more than one word because there's more than one word to describe you. So our staff has put together a word cloud that we would like to present to you. That includes all of the different words that your fellow commissioners have used to describe you as the amazing person that you are. And on behalf of the state of California, we also want to provide you with a certificate of recognition. So this certificate is presented to you in honor of outstanding service as a valued member of the Instructional Quality Commission from 21 through 2022. Your valuable contributions of time and expertise have been instrumental in furthering our mission to provide all children with quality and innovative educational materials so they can develop and achieve their full potential. I extend my sincere appreciation for the time and effort you have contributed to such a worthwhile endeavor, and this is signed by the Superintendent of Public Instruction, Tony Thurmond. So we would like to present these to you, and we also have a plaque that we're going to be mailing to you as the plaque is not quite ready yet. So.
Write down her name because we can all say, I knew her when. Right? I knew her when. So thank you, everyone. It was amazing to be in person, to see everyone. And with that, I think this meeting is adjourned. I want to do this, but.
Do it. Let's do it. Thank you, commissioners.